Right, in this lecture, we are going to perform the multicollinearity testing by employing the SPSS software. As mentioned in our previous lecture, we have to use multiple regression in order to understand how to perform this analysis. Firstly, in this example, we have here from 1988 until 2017, we have GDP as a dependent variable and capital, unemployment, education, and also the literacy rate as an independent variable. But for this, to perform the multiple regression in this example, we only use the capital and unemployment in order to represent the independent variable for this example. Now let's start. We use regression and go to linear. In this example, we use statistic. We click on collinearity, model fit, R-squared chain, estimate, Dubin-Watson. Then we click continue. Make sure you put gross domestic product as dependent variable, and independent variable is a capital and unemployment. Then you click OK. Here, in this example, the important part you have to refer here is this table. It's a coefficient table. You have to use the value of beta here, the B here. The information here you have to transform into Excel by generating the GDP hat. Alright, so we have to transfer the information here into Excel. So in here the constant is negative 1.348, negative 1.348, right? Then plus, okay, plus, okay, 1.016 star, and you have to click at capital. Then you have to click plus 0.718 plus 0.718 star, meaning times unemployment. Then you are done. You click enter. Once you click enter, you click back there, then you have to drag, meaning you calculate for all rows. Then now we have to calculate for error. Error is actually sum GDP minus GDP hat. Then close the bracket, then you enter. The error data can be negative or positive. It depends on the value of GDP or GDP hat. Right. Now we have to copy this data back into the data set in SPSS. So you have to paste the data here. Right, you have to paste the data here. You can see that the data is quite small. Then the data name here you can put as GDP hat. Right. When you back to the data here, you have to perform again the analysis of regression. This one we call it as PEQ test. When you replace the data of, this is not GDP hat, this is error. Okay, my mistake. Okay, the error. Change the decimal, change the decimal. You can put it 4. Okay, now the data much obvious here. So now you have to do the PEQ test. The PEQ test meaning that the error here, you have to, if you do the PEQ test, you have to times error with error. Okay. You have to error times error. Error times error, because you want to wave out the negative sign. So here is some error times error, then you close, you enter, then you get the positive number. Right? Now you already get the negative number. Right. Then let's assume this is error that you need to use in the PEQ test. So you copy again the positive value of error, copy, and you put back in the SPSS. So here is error 2. Error 2. Error times error, we call it error 2. And you have to put more decimal to make data look obvious. Then you go back to analysis. Now you have to perform the PEQ test. Go back to analysis. Right, go back to analysis. Go to regression. Go to linear. Change the gross domestic product. Use the error 2, meaning the error times error. Put it here. Then you click OK. Now this is the result for the PEQ test. What you have to do here, you have to perform the t-test in order to identify whether capital is important in explaining the error, and again do the hypothesis test whether the unemployment is important in explaining the error. But here in PEQ test, the hypothesis is not like that. The hypothesis is actually if you're not significant, meaning that the estimated modeling 1, the first modeling that you run for GDP and capital and also the unemployment is free from the heteroscedasticity problem. Again, here in this hypothesis, we see that we reject HO, meaning that the modeling, the first modeling, the GDP function with capital and employment, the first estimated model is free from the heteroscedasticity problem. In other words, the modeling is homoscedasticity. Right? So until here, I hope this explanation will help you to understand how to do the PEQ test for your project. And as I mentioned earlier, in this hypothesis here, right, we run the capital and employment on GDP product. Here we have to do the hypothesis where the capital important in explaining GDP, and also the unemployment is important in explanation GDP. So here also we must make sure that the hypothesis is significant, right? But when we go to PEQ test, here must be not significant. The data will be like this, meaning that not significant even at 90%. Then if the result will be like this, we might say that we are accept HO, meaning that the modeling is free from the heteroscedasticity problem. We accept. Here we need to reject HO. Here we need to accept HO. Right? When we accept HO, meaning that the modeling, the estimated modeling here is free from the heteroscedasticity problem, and the modeling can be said as homoscedasticity problem. Right. So we can say that if only the significant here is like this, meaning that not significant even at 90%. So here we can say that we accept HO. Here we need to reject HO. But however, it's depend on your result. If here you reject or accept, you just have to report. Okay? Don't worry whether it accept or reject. At this stage on the project, you don't worry. You must not worry too much about that. As long as you can read, you can report, you can do the hypothesis like this. I think it's enough for this level. Okay, thank you very much. Goodbye.